Hi, I'm Dave Nassif, and I have the privilege of serving as the president and CEO of Ashley. And I have the further privilege today of introducing one of our keynote speakers, Micki Thomas. Some of you know who she is, but today what we've asked Micki to do is to come and give you kind of a history lesson of how Ashley started. There are some interesting stories about the miracle of Ashley and how we got to where we are today. As you may know, there were four key people. Our two founders, obviously, Father Martin and May Abraham, but the first two people they brought on the campus were Leonard Dahl and Micki. And Micki's the survivor of the four. And we are so fortunate, I am personally fortunate, to have Micki in my life today. She is an advisor to me. We meet at least once a month. She's also an advisor to our clinical staff, so she can bring that knowledge of the legacy of Ashley as we move forward. So with no further ado, let me introduce Micki Thomas.
First, I do want to say that I'm delighted to be able to say a few words to the alumni on this special day, and that's something that would have been done in the past by either my sister May, Father Martin, or our first CEO, Leonard Dahl. Since they are no longer here, it's, I think, important to have one of us who remains be able to say welcome, and we appreciate all that you have done to help us make Ashley what it is today. As Father says in his book, One Step More, I struggled with getting sober, probably more so than anyone I've treated in the last 25, 30 years. I'm not sure why I've had that difficulty, and I've been working with this topic for many years. But I think that it was an inside denial that kept me from expressing outwardly that I was an alcoholic. I knew that I would have to change people, places, and things in my life, and I just simply didn't want to do that. I was in a job that I was traveling and quite successful, and that meant that I would have to deny the hospitality baskets that was sent to my room. I would have to say no to the flight attendant who said, "Do you want a drink?" So it was, to me, it meant a whole new lifestyle, and I just wasn't ready to go about accepting that change. But eventually, like this disease says and does and shows us every day, it progresses, and after a point, there's a no return where you don't have an opportunity to say, I choose not to get sober. It changes to, I either get sober or die. And that point of my life, I had lost custody of my child. I was homeless. My family finally had, including my sister, finally had the good grace to tell me that I would have to find the truth in myself by myself, because they were enabling me and they did not want to continue that practice. It took 3 years of hard drinking and living from couch to couch, or whatever means that I could support that my habit of alcohol, until I finally must have, in a complete and total blackout, called my sister and said, "Please help me, I'm going to die." And they did. They did. Well, May facilitated me getting into another treatment center, and as a charity patient, they simply said, "We wish you the very best, and someday we are going to have a place of treatment," and Father Martin and I, "and if you can ever find your way to honesty, there will be a place for you there by my side." And I remembered that. I had to learn to use the rooms of 12-step programs. I had to learn to reach out to help. I had to learn to trust people. And I had to just literally learn to walk again and talk. And throughout all of it, they kept their distance, supportive, but not entangling themselves in my early sobriety. And then when I was 2 years sober, she and Father Martin came to see me, and it was that beautiful day that they asked me, "Are you ready to come and be on our program or our staff?" Small as it was. And so that was the turning point in my life, really. So I will always be very grateful to May. She gave me a new life. She helped me to return my daughter to my care. And I was by her side as she closed her eyes for the last time in just a year ago. My favorite memories of Father Martin was his ability to walk into a room and it lit up like the sun was suddenly shining in your life. He had a tremendous ability to put people at ease. He met their patients at the front door of Ashley and he would say, "Welcome home. The nightmare is over." Throughout all of it, May was the cheerleader. She was the backbone of Ashley, and Father said this often. He said, without May, there wouldn't have been an Ashley. So my memories of her, that she left me at her death, was her strength and the innate wisdom to never, ever, ever give up. No matter how much you're tempted, you've got the grit to move on if you just stand up and move. I would want to say to them that after all of these years of working with relapse-prone people, and I must have done thousands of histories and treated patients not only here at Ashley, but I worked after I retired. I worked for 7 years in a women's recovery home that they were there for 9 months to a year. So I've learned from that experience that the basic reason we don't get sober is that we don't get honest with ourselves. And I think it's hard. There's stigma around addiction, and it's hard to admit that you are inferior or that there's something wrong with you, that you have a disease that has a stigma attached to it, and it's hard for you to admit that you are that you are an addict or an alcoholic. Honesty, acceptance, and willingness to work the program after you have been given the education, the treatment, and the tools, and know how to go about getting well.